Hello everybody, welcome back to the Bison Workshop. I'm Bob, and tonight we're working on the Z-axis. So I've got my sensor or my reader hooked up, and we got it hooked up to the Z, and as you can see I've done some testing here. But what I wanted to do is first tell you to have your Trump coffee. If you don't have your Trump coffee, I'll wait. Nah, I'm not gonna wait. You can pause. I knew that when I took the original, or my short one out, wherever I put it, if I can find it, when I lay something down in this shop, it disappears forever. And I don't know what I did with it. But I'll just get the other one. So these are the readers and the scales that I had before. These are magnetic scales, but I think the magnet is in this part, not this part here. On the scales that came with this, they have a strip that is magnetic, and the head is not. So this is magnetic because I can take and stick that washer right there and it'll just set right there. So this is the part that's magnetic. It's opposite on that one. Unless this is a different kind of a reed, I don't know. But so I said, well, okay. I had, and I'd like to find the other one so I can show you what the hell. Oh, here it is, right here. All right, so this is the piece that I replaced my other DRO that was on here, and I just mounted it in place right there, and it was almost exactly the same size as that old one that came out. So I just put a bracket on the back of it and mounted that, and then had these two screw holes that screws it to the quill. So we already know that I have adapted it for this size rail. So as long as I can get that rail to work, we're on the downhill side. I thought this was actually going to be more complicated than it really is. It's going to be more complicated making the parts. So what I did was I took the scrap of the one that I took off of this, and it was enough to do it. And this is what it looked like after I cut it off, because I had to use the end off of it to put on the other end of this. So this wouldn't fit in there. There's a slot inside this front wall here that allows this to be able to go up and down. So what I did was took this rail that it is fitted for, and I drilled 2 holes in the bottom of it, and I took all of this strip off. And it's easy to do. Just get your knife and get started under it, and then you can take a screwdriver and just kind of work it all the way down. You don't want to bend it in case you want to use it again, because it is sticky on the other side. So yes, you can re-put these on. So don't damage it taking it off. So then I took the magnet off of this, and it's the same way. It's got a bunch of sticky stuff on the back side of that piece of tape right there. And I just took it out of this, took this one out, took this one and put it inside this one. Now I've got it so that I can mount that. So I've taken it all the way down as far as it'll go, because that's the last reed you're going to get. So that's where you're going to want to position your reader. Now I'm not going to be able to put it like that. As you can see, it's reading it now. So if I move that up, it changes. Alright. It also had this real thin piece of metal. And I think all this is just a protector for this magnet. So I'm going to try to figure out a way to make this work too. This is actually, I think, aluminum or something, because it won't magnetize to that. It's not magnetic. Nope. That magnet just come off of it. So this is just a protector. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this down thin enough to where it's only on the magnet part, the strip. And then I'm just going to glue it to it with some contact cement or spray cement or something like that. And I'm just going to put that on there. Alright, once I do that, I also want to take and 3D print a bracket that goes in here in this same spot that will go in on both sides of this and allow a pocket, a straight pocket for it to move up and down with. Let me move you guys a little closer here so you can see a little bit what I'm doing. Now I don't know how well this is going to work, but I think it can go either way. So what I'm thinking I want to try to do is make some kind of a 3D printed part that goes in this part right here where the old DRA used to mount, because I do have the screws for it, so why not use that. And make it so it's got a valley for this to rest in, with enough room to put some kind of, like I've got some green felt that I can glue to the back side of that, and that would allow this something to ride against and keep it straight up and down, because it is flexible. I don't think it's really going to matter, because these things will read. Let's see how far I can get away from it. Alright, so I'm not touching. I'm about an 1/8 inch away from it, so it starts reading at about an 1/8 inch before you touch it. So let's see if it reads the same. Yep. Alright, so as long as that light is green, if you adjust it to where that light is green, it doesn't have to be touching that. So we may not even need the protector. So I'm going to try to make it so that I can also use these same holes to make a bracket to come over to mount this, just like that. Of course, it's going to be this way, because I'll have to run this cable over in here somehow. I don't know how I'll do it, but I'll have to run that cable over here. Try to make it as neat as possible. You know, something like that right there. Or I may be able to this was a difficult one. This is the better of the two choices, because I don't want this cord to be, well, actually it might not look too awful bad. I can pin it right there somehow. Too bad it wasn't up here where it was going to be resting, because then I could just drape it right down through there in that hole. So we're just going to do it this way. I mean, I know I'm modifying the mill. It's not even going to look like a grizzly by the time I get done with it. I'm going to try to keep all the original stuff, but we'll just drape that around there like that. And I still got the plate that I'm going to try to put it back on, but it's going to have a hole cut in it to allow this to come out of it. So I'll probably make a slot all the way down. That way I can take the plate off. If I make a square hole for this to go around, or to go around it on the plate, wherever I put it, well, daggone it, I can't set nothing down in this shop, man, without losing it. It's probably right in front of my face. It is, right there. Not 2 feet from my face. So, you know, I could just take and just cut that slot out so that I can, well, no, I'd still have to take, yeah, I might still be able to do that. And then lift it up out of there with the reed head in its place. So the reed head would be there, and I can just cut a slot in this bottom. We'll see if we can do it without cutting a slot, but once I get this draped around there, there ain't gonna be no taking that off anyway. So I'd like to try to make it so that it don't, I want as little of this showing as possible. So my next thing to do is to go, I got to get some measurements here and get a bracket made that will go around this, go back, and come across. So it's going to have a recess in it, so I can put that felt in it. So this video is probably going to be a couple days in the making, because it's a little late for me to be working on that tonight. But I wanted to show what I was planning on doing here, and I think that'll work just fine. So as long as we can get a bracket here, we may not even put that plate back on it. We may make another plate to put on it or something. I don't know. Then we got our handle that goes on. And I just ran a frickin' wire in my finger. Oh, come on. So that's really the only way you can do it. So once I glue that strip over top of it, that will be protected. And I just use a piece of paper, or I actually used one of those wrappers that comes on a, and I feel that piece of metal just terrorizing the hell out of my finger. Damn it. Let me get this out of my damn finger. Gotta find it first. Oh, that worked. That was quick. Alright, so we've got the x-axis done. it's on and working just fine. I'm moving the x-axis. Now I can zero it, start over. So I've been also making fan housings and fan blades for the treadmill motor that I modified to fit this mill. Let me get that. So here's the motor that I modified for this mill, and something looks crooked here. Maybe it's my eyes. But this is an 8mm shaft now. This will fit those pulleys that I showed you guys that I got in the last video, or the video before, I'm not sure. But it's not going to look like this. Once I get it all mounted and everything's painted and nice and pretty. I made that aluminum bracket to go on there that mounts on with the housing when you put it all together. And then I got a fan blade and a housing, and this slot here is for the blue wires. When I'm gonna put them back in this. I got them here somewhere. It just slides in and the screw holds it in. But the clamp is really unnecessary because I made this a press fit. So this year presses on that shaft, I had to take a dead blow and tap it on. It was that hard. So it's not going to come off. But I also got set screws in it too. And then I made this housing the same size as this and made it a press fit. So now when it goes on, I really didn't need the clamps. I could just press it on and be done with it. So it's got a valley for the brushes. And then I got a little recess in there to relieve for the wires. So that's going to be the motor for this mill, and it's probably going to set. You guys are all crooked. So it'll probably be up there about that high, something like that right there. That should put it pretty close to where I want it. And this motor won't be there because we're going to have to make a gear or modify a gear to put on here, because I got the tooth type belt, and I hope I got the right size belt. I guess if I don't, I'll have to get it. Or I could take and make a V-belt pulleys and use a V-belt. Still have to buy the V-belt, so either way I'm buying a belt. One of these days I'll learn how to be able to make belts. But another thing I wanted to bring up is on these readers here, the DRO readers, these have a micro USB plug, and I want to adapt this to a DB9 plug, and I'm wondering if it's possible, because I really don't want to change the damn scales on the lathe. I like to keep the same scales and just use another DRO, because yes, I went ahead and got another DRO, but all I got was the head. And the only reason I got this, and I mean I got that dirt cheapest frickin' one I could find, that's only this part right here, and it was like 46 bucks. And it's a 2-axis, and I got it for the simple reason I want to experiment with that. I want to learn how to adapt that reader or that magnetic scale to the DRO. So I'm going to use that as my guinea pig. I'm also talking to the guy that I got this off of. Since it went so well, I thought, well, you know what? Let me see if I can't work out a deal with him and see if I can get one for free. Because I'd like to have another one just like this one over there so they match. But, you know, this is 500 and some bucks, man. Yeah. There ain't no damn way I'm buying two of those. Unless somebody out there's got one they're willing to do some trading for. Got one laying under your bench that you took off because you didn't like something on it. Hey, I'm no stranger to taking it off your hands. But I'd like to stick with magnetic scales because you just can't cut down glass easily. It's you have a 80% chance or 90% chance of breaking the glass if you try to cut them, and then they're destroyed. So I'm not interested in glass scales. In fact, I think they went out the door anyway. I think magnetic is the new standard. But I'd like to try to adapt that, cut that plug off. But the thing of it is I have to test. This one here had two 3-volt batteries. So it had, I guess, 6 volts. So this operates on 5 volts. It would probably still work because you're not pumping the whole 6 volts on that. And I believe it'd still work. Basically anything will work. Because you have a lot of flexibility there in your voltages. So, you know, anything from 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 volts will pretty much work everything. But then once you get down a little bit more, it's like turning down a potentiometer. So you're turning down the volts. So at one point it'll just go black and say your battery's dead. But if the wires on this is the correct color, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to test these or not. But I would like to be able to test to see what these things are doing by just cutting this plug off, stripping all these wires, and testing each one of them. If one of them's red and one of them's black, then I'll know that those are the voltage, the input. So then you would have 3. As far as I'm seeing, I think you'll have 3 wires. So I'm expecting to see 5 wires in this, 5 or 6. They might be 7 in there, but that's an awful little cable. But I did order some DB9 plugs for these, just in case it'll work. If it works, man, I'm going to be tickled to death. Because then I don't have to change the scales. Now, whether they read better or not read better, I don't know. I might just be wasting my time. Because I'm not a professional in DROs by no means. So that's where we're at on this mill as far as the Z-axis goes. I think that I had it backwards. I was thinking this one was going to be the complicated one, and it may still yet turn out to be a complicated one, but at least I'm halfway there because I've got this in its location and it is working. So as long as I can keep that tracking in the right spot, just something to keep it from going side to side or in and out, flexing in and out. So even if it did flex in, I don't think it's going to change, because remember, you got an 1/8 inch before it even touched it, before it started activating it. So there's a lot of play there to work with. So I may not even have to do that. I might just be able to just make a bracket here to hold the reed head that'll mount on both sides and hold the reed head. Now it's just a matter of me making the bracket. I may even be able to 3D print that bracket. So I'm gonna get some measurements here, and we're gonna go in the 3D printer and print some stuff out, and we'll pick this video up tomorrow. Well, hello everybody, we're back. It's the next day. With the speed of editing, you guys get to jump right to it. I had to wait all night. So I went into the 3D printer, and basically I made this piece right here that goes in there, and that just keeps it in line, and it moves up and down, and I think that'll work just fine. So this is all flush with the front of this, and I made this plate, and I'm gonna have to remake another one because I messed up here on the bottom. I have to make these holes grooved instead of just a hole. So I need to bring this hole down a little bit more too. So I just basically took the wipers off because it wouldn't fit in there, and it doesn't really need them on there because this is all enclosed anyway, so it don't matter. And so I've got it adjusted to where, hey, it works. So just put a angle on it, and I had to re-drill it because I put the holes in the wrong place, but now I got two different options where I want to put it. So that will go on there just like that, and I even put the Bison logo on it, so I got to paint that yet. And we'll go ahead and put this together. Alright, so now we got the reader hooked up, and I'm probably going to try to just bring that down here and bring it around here. There's a screw hole here on the other side where the shield used to be. So we're just going to take and bring that down and get one of those little round things that bolts on, and hook that right there and run that straight back into a chain, and then we're going to put a chain right here somehow. We're going to remove this box. We don't need it no more. So now we've got X and Z done. So there is Z. It never centers back because the top of that thing's got a rubber O-ring on it, so it's a little flexible, so that doesn't really matter. Alright, and then we got our X travel. And it's working. Alright, so now all we got to do is our Y-axis. So just got the one axis left. And then it's learning how to use it. Anyway, I just wanted to show you this piece here because this was the most difficult, and I'm going to modify this bracket a little bit better in my print and probably reprint another one. So and then I want to modify this to where it doesn't have that overhang off of my reader. So look, just touching that thing changed it. That'll work, man. My very first DRO. Now I went and got another one, like I said yesterday. I went and got another one that I'm going to put on the lathe if I can modify these magnetic ones that came with my eye gauging. Because I believe they'll work if I could just get the wiring correct. If I can wire this to a DB plug or DB9 plug, it's possible that I can use these. So it's just finding out which ones are power and which ones are the A signal and the B signal. Now I don't quite understand the A and the B signal, how to know the difference between one and the other. But basically what I'm going to have to do is hook one of these up as a test unit, strip the wires so I can actually test them and actually move it and use it and see where the voltage is, which one's the ground, which one's A, which one's B. I don't know if there's 5 wires in this or if there's 4 wires, but I think there's 3 wires for signal and 2 wires for power, plus and minus. So anyway, that's done. This is done. Now I can put my wheel back on it and it's not in the way. So that'll work. Got a chain coming for it. I was going to 3D print one, but for some reason when I went to export it out of Tinkercad and onto my computer, it just would not download it. So I don't know what's going on with Tinkercad. I wish I could find a better free software for making them parts that's actually on my computer. Right now, any of my parts are online, and if I lose my internet and I still got power, I still can't make no prints. So that's kind of aggravating. But for some reason, Tinkercad has been really slow and lagging, and it's getting to the point where I'm just wanting to move away from Tinkercad and try to find another 3D print software to make parts. I ended up having to go from Prusa because, like Cura, the last time when I had Cura, it worked great until they finally started doing all these updates. So they're basically changing your setups so that it don't work no more, and it ends up being nothing but a nightmare. So I went from Cura to Prusa. Well, then I went and used it for a while, and it worked great immediately. As soon as I started using Prusa, better prints, solider prints, everything was working great. Now Prusa's doing the same thing. So I went back and reinstalled Cura, and it's working fine again until they update the shit out of it. I wish they'd stop updating my damn Cura. Because once I got it working, I don't want to change nothing. I don't want no updates. I don't want you changing what you think I want. I want what I want, and leave my shit alone. So I guess I'm going to play this game for the rest of my life of jumping back and forth from one cure to the other, because for some reason my settings keep getting changed. And I'm not changing them. So the only thing I change in my setting is the very first dashboard that shows infill, brim, heat of the bed, and heat of the nozzle. Those are the only things that I change, period. I don't change nothing. So there for a while with Persa, it was getting to the point where the outer wall, or all the way around the part, about 1.5 millimeters, maybe 2 millimeters. Well, it's probably more closer to 1 millimeter, but it wasn't even attached. The only place that, if I was to print this piece in Prusa the way it was, the corners are the only ones that were actually attached. When I pulled the print off the bed, the sides just came off. So it made it shorter than what it was when I printed it. So I don't know why the outer wall was not adhering, but it wasn't attached. The only place it was attached was at the corner. So if anybody knows anything about what's causing that, who knows, maybe I can go back to Prusa. But anyway, that's all we have today. Don't forget to have your Trump coffee. We the deplorables are speaking again. Anyway, you guys have a good one. Later.